It's all starting to come together. Fisher's plan is revealed. Angela makes a new friend, and Tyrell Wellick is alive. Or maybe not. I don't know. Honestly, it's really hard to tell with Elliot these days. It's Mr. Robot, episode 2.9, Python, part 1.p7z. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Mr. Robot. So, there are spoilers ahead, just so you've been warned. Alright, so a good episode this week, really getting all of the final pieces set in place before next week's big finale. And really it all starts off with money, specifically $2 trillion zero-interest loan that the Chinese give to bail out e-corp. This was the big discussion that Fisher was having with White Rose in the cemetery the other week, and this was his threat. This is what you need to do to help balance this out, and that has had a few really big immediate impacts in with the episode. First off, there's Dom being pretty much disrespected. Really not being treated well. She is seeing the emergency of the situation of the Dark Army coming in. You shouldn't have put Cisco's face out there. I told you this was going to happen. We need to get on top of it. Why she is in the hospital and not investigating at the crime scene right now? Really big question. But of course, again, that's tied to the $2 trillion. $2 trillion, now we're indebted to the Chinese. Nobody wants to mess up that relationship, and therefore, even with the Chinese government possibly involved in the Cisco attack, in the drive-by, in the shoot-up, even possibly going back to 5/9. That is now not anything that they can discuss. So suddenly, Dom's investigation is sidelined. One thing we do get to find out from there, of course, is that at least someone survived. People did die. We don't know who. But she's granted an interview. She said she wants to do the interview. That means at least one person is alive. Is it Darlene? Is it Cisco? Is it Cisco and Darlene? I was hoping we would find out this week, but we are going to have to wait. Now, there is a little Reddit approach that I got informed about. Thank you guys as always. You've got such keen eyes. I really appreciate the commentaries and feedback that you give me. Anyway, had slowed down the shoot up at the diner, and it looked like Cisco may not have ducked in time. So most likely Cisco may have gone out, but as I had mentioned last week, if he does, that's kind of okay. His storyline is sort of played out, and Darlene still knows who his Dark Army contact is. So most likely Darlene survived and Cisco went out. But for sure, we're going to have to wait till next week. Now, with this money, Fisher makes his real big move. Now, with that $2 trillion shoring up e-corp, he can use that as leverage to get his e-coin established and authorized by the US government. Fisher now wants to do loans with e-coin. That starts a transaction using e-coin, and basically he's trying to get e-coin replacing the dollar as the coin of the realm. If you can make the money, if you can print the money, if you are authorized for the creation and distribution of money, you have the power. That is the secret behind any central bank, is the monetary power and control of a nation. So if he can get e-coin established, and the dollar is the preeminent trading money in the planet, so if he can get the e-coin to replace the dollar, then suddenly e-corp is at the center of all of the world's financial exchanges. It's already the most powerful company. Now it's actually in charge of the dollars of the money that everybody uses. So this is Fisher's really big push. This is his plan. If there was a reason for him to cooperate in the 5/9 attacks and let it happen and let his company get risked, this is why. Because that is a temporary thing. If he controls creation of the money, then he has the ultimate power. As his statements were last week, is he would be the most powerful man in the room. Now, this isn't totally agreeing with White Rose, and this is really where Angela's salvation comes in. She should have been killed. Well, he really talks about that that Angela should have been killed 90 days ago. In the world of Mr. Robot, that would have been about the 5/9 hack. So his expectation, White Rose's expectation, is that Angela would have been killed, should have died right around the 5-9 hacks. But she didn't. She was protected by Fisher. And White Rose wants to know why. Through the very interesting and fascinating interview process using some rather antiquated technology. Heads up, the Commodore 64 was my first computer back in the early 80s. And that's exactly how it worked. It was all typed up, very simple, basic language. The disk drive was about the size of a shoebox. Giant, big old floppy disk you had to push in. All of that, very accurate. The graphics were exactly perfectly that. It was a beautiful scene. Just amazing camera work done without that. But all of that aside, that is the interview process for getting White Rose and Angela to have a little face-to-face. White Rose is intrigued with Angela because apparently Angela, while Fisher is protecting Angela, she has also been the inspiration in some sort for him to push and make all of these big moves. And that's really what White Rose is going for. What is it about her that is so inspiring to Fisher? And that's why White Rose, Angela is close to Elliot. White Rose doesn't want to upset him. So White Rose has several reasons of why to keep Angela alive. But I think ultimately what she wanted to find out with Angela is, what is it that does that inspiration? And I think it's her tenacity. I think it's her ability to grab onto something and push and go through and put everything to the side. When she was going into e-corp, she was willing to transform herself to get what she wanted. When she was going after them, she was willing to risk her job and anything else in order to get what she wanted. And that is why White Rose was telling Angela she didn't care about getting that information. She didn't care about getting the jump drive. For Angela, at some point, some fire would be lit under her butt. She would want to dig back in. She would be able to find that information. She would keep going. That's why White Rose says, I don't want your information, I want your belief. If I can establish your belief in what they are doing, then Angela won't pursue turning this information over anymore. And apparently she got what she wanted. And we saw that with Angela's final show up at the lawyers there and asking her, don't contact anymore, this is all done, forget what I had to say. And the look at Angela's face is she was a believer at that point. What was exactly said is, again, probably something that we are finding out next week. And then, of course, finally, we have Elliot. In a whole beautiful opening sequence, I love that idea of him seeing that maybe we can't win, but maybe we can at least stop them from winning as well. And the attempt at lucid dreaming, at being consciously aware while you are asleep, while you are dreaming, so that he could be, the silent observer. And I love the fact that he was involving us in the process as well. Again, that part of him, that other silent observer that he can work with, that he can confide with, if we can sort of help him out. So, I thought that was beautifully done. And that is really the discovery of following Mr. Robot, following what it was that he wanted to get back to the apartment for. Great cryptographic little sequence there, and just wonderful to know the amount of resources that are available to all of us on the internet. I didn't know there was little crypt stations like that. I'm going to have to check that out. And then, of course, we get to the big revelation, the appearance of Tyrell Wellick. And I think Elliot points it out very quickly and immediately right there. He can't trust what it is that he is seeing. The cab driver's not going to be much of an effect to him. The cab driver's not very happy with all of that. But this is bringing their connection back and then obviously coming to the location of where all shall be revealed with us. And my guess is that is exactly where Joanna is heading also right now, as we saw in that very opening sequence. She wasn't as worried. She didn't have the same reaction as the driver did at seeing that address. This seemed to be a confirmation and a gift, as she said, for them to be able to move forward. So I'm guessing that at some point Joanne's going to show up in that location. And just a quick little side note back with Dom. There's a lot of really beautiful sequences that were shot in this. Primarily the scene with Fisher when he's talking with the administration. Oh, it's just beautiful. The stuff done with Fisher is really simplistic and yet really is a way of portraying that sense of power and control. The way that the camera is set, the decoration of the room, just always really powerfully done, even its simplicity. The same can be said with the shot sequence with Angela in the interview room. All very dark, lit just with the fish tank over the very simple technology that was sitting on the desk. It's all just very poignant way of she being in the dark, just barely lit with just a tiny bit of information. The information she does know is all incomplete in its sense, is all very antiquated, feeling very behind the times there. So again, all really nicely done sequences. And the same thing is done with Dom in that bit when she's talking to her little computer bot with Alexa. And this really comes down to the fact, especially shown from the beginning of the episode, how once again her administration is not believing her, is not supporting her investigation, and she's basically being shut out of something that she's been working very hard for. For Dom, all she has is her work. And the few connections that she does make, she keeps losing. She did have that one friend that was also in the FBI who got killed right next to her in China. She's got her favorite sandwich shop, which is closing down because of the hit of the economy. And the investigation, her job, the one thing that she really has left in her life, is also being isolated and taken away from her. So that whole little sequence with her asking Alexa, are you happy? Do you love me? I mean, it's just, that is really, again, in that quiet, exhaustive moment, really feeling how alone that she actually is and very isolated. And in some ways, very akin to Elliot in that sense as well, who has also for all this time been dealing with that sense of loneliness. And I think this really shows the big connection that the two of them have. Slightly different circumstances. They could be an interesting pair. All right, and then just a couple of things in the episode point out. One, all of the pictures in White Rose's house had all the faces cut out. Creepy, or statement of the homogeny of suburbs and society? I don't know, could be interesting. Could just be someone looking for a family and doesn't care who it is. Maybe it was all came with a frame. The computer programs that popped up on the screen in ye old ancient Commodore 64, some actual old programs for there. Maniac Mansion was one, and Pitfall was one of the classic top Atari 2600 games way back in the day, and that was actually one of my favorites. So I really enjoyed seeing that. Land of Ecodelia, have absolutely no memory of that appearing. Ecodelia has to do with psychedelics, use of psychedelics, I think, to expand consciousness and things like that. So that probably ties in with the very odd, incongruous, subjective questions that came from that program right there. But anyway, just thought that was all really interesting. Another bit, I really enjoyed that moment where Elliot was following Mr. Robot, first looking over his shoulder and then disappearing, and then Mr. Robot kind of looking around, getting that feeling, am I being watched? And even with the whole tailing through the park and everything like that, I just thought that was well done, and I love the realization, because that's exactly what I thought is, why are you following him when you are him? And that really sort of came to the connection right there, right as he ran into the cab. So I thought that was well done. On the other hand, Elliot, you've got to learn how to play it cool. If you're supposed to be Mr. Robot and you're supposed to be there, just act like you're supposed to be there. Stop freaking out. You might find a lot more information of just, yeah, I'm Elliot, and getting in and sitting down, and maybe just going with whatever Tyrell, he's there or not, is saying, as opposed to being so confrontational. I think that's one Elliot's thing, and that's why he's supposed to be asleep and just observing all of this anyway. So I think he needs to learn maybe to sort of calm down a little bit, play like he's in control, even if he doesn't know what's going on. And finally, I don't know what stage 2 is. I don't know what the big final plan is, but I am guessing that it is somehow connected to Back to the Future. And I say this because whenever they're traveling, anytime that they're in the cars, the music that they're hearing almost the whole time is all parts from the soundtrack to Back to the Future. I recognized it immediately off the first time that Angela was driving in the back of the van, what was playing over the radio, all the way up until the final cab ride at the end. A lot of music from Back to the Future. Now, this is all supposed to be taking place, again, last year. So that's 2015, and that is the time in Back to the Future 2 that Marty McFly traveled to. And that all took place back 30 years prior in 1985, which is about congruent with the Commodore 64 and all of the computer programs that White Rose was using at that point. And the music, of course, is back from 30 years prior to that in 1955, which is, of course, where Marty McFly went back in the first Back to the Future movie. So I'm not sure, again, what the connections are. Is it a 30-year thing? Is this connection from 55 to 85 to 2015? Is it a return of something? I'm not entirely sure. If I come up with some more ideas, I'll throw them down in the comment section. You can take a look at that throughout the week. Anything that sort of percolates up or comes into my mind, I'll throw that out. If you guys got anything, throw it down also. But anyway, just a real interesting moment that struck me very strongly. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the big reveal is. But I bet you when we find out, we're going to be thinking Back to the Future. That is going to wrap it up for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Next week is, of course, the big finale. All of the answers hopefully will be revealed to us. Is Tyrell Wellick really alive? I kind of think that he is. And why was Mr. Robot keeping us from learning that? Why did he want to deceive us thinking that he was dead? What has been going on? What is Phase 2? What is White Rose's final plan? Is that keyed in with Elliot, or is White Rose trying to do a double cross with him? All very, very curious, and we're going to have to wait until next week to find out. So, you can press that like button if you enjoyed my bits of conversation here. Hit that subscribe button right over there. Come back next week and with all of our future reviews and future shows. Next week is the premiere of Season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So super excited about that. Then, of course, we're doing Fear the Walking Dead. That's coming up for another 3 more weeks now. We thought we were running out of time, but no, we've got a couple extra episodes there. So that is going in through the beginning of October. And then, of course, The Walking Dead Season 7 begins October 23rd. Who was Negan's victim? Gonna find out then. Anyway, and lots of other exciting things coming up. Got a few other ideas I might be reviewing. I will let you know as soon as I am able to make sure I can fit them into my schedule. So, what thoughts do you have? What do you think Phase 2 is? Is Tyrell alive or dead? What did White Rose do to convince Angela? What made her a believer? Lots and lots of questions. Throw your thoughts down in the comment section. We'll keep a little dialogue going until we can find out next week. Anyway, you can always catch me on Twitter, of course. I'm at Darren Jakes. There it is right there. So, now, next week, I'm going to be doing shooting from a little special location there. I'll let you know then. In the meantime, I'm going to have to go spread the word of F Society. You guys take it easy. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.